So I want to create something that looks like a city, but I don't have any reference or something in mind. So I will be free to explore Fractal and give it to my personal interpretation of shapes, and then we will see something about the shading and how to get materials over iteration. So let's just start with selecting our fractal. I'm going to use UberSierpinski. Select the code and create a Vectron object. Delete the sphere. Paste the code. Hit compile. And there we are. So let's start tweaking this formula. Of course, you can use the sliders, or if you want a more precise option, you can also tweak with the arrows here. So what I usually do for creating cities with this Sierpinski fractal is start tweaking the scale and the offset, but first you need the full fold mode to be enabled. Looks like nothing is happening, but if you then change the box fold, you will see that the shape is different with the full fold mode enabled. So this is actually already looking interesting, but is a little boring. So let's tweak the scale manager. All right, and the box fold. So this is also boring. Okay, I like this thin part, so let's keep that. All right. Then let's just try to enable some option and see what's happening here. Okay. And then only now I start to tweak the offset. There's not really a reason for that. I'm just enjoying and tweaking my fractal. This is really cool. So as always, when I need to understand the shape of the fractal, but I don't want to wait for the render time, I switch to the normal kernel here and decrease the ray epsilon here in the Octane settings. So just decrease that until you are happy with the detail level. This is looking really cool. And then when you are happy with your camera, you can just go back to the direct lighting kernel, and also here decrease the ray epsilon. So I like this this parameter. Actually, I was really lucky to find this after 2 minutes of tweaking. But it's also kind of boring because there's too much symmetry and everything is perpendicular, parallel. It's boring. So let's try to change some angles. You have to be careful with angles in this mode because it can be really strong. It has a really strong effect on the overall shape of the fractal, so just be gentle with these sliders. This is also a cool looking shape. Let's just render this to understand what we have in front of us. What I usually do is switch to direct lighting kernel and increase the ray epsilon so I can see everything. All right, and go full screen and just wait until it's rendered. Go drink a coffee or something else and just wait. So when you are back, you can see and start to think about, oh, whoa, that's cool. That looks like a church, or this looks like a plant, and you start to think about how your scene could be like. And I find this really more easy when you have a big render with many details. So this is looking nice, but it's not what I want for this render. I want something like a city. So, well, just to let you know that there's also this kind of thing with this formula. So let's go back to our explore mode with the normal, and I think that I will keep the rotation to 0. So let's play with the offset. All right, I like this. And the scale also is a different thing. It's similar to the offset, but it changes the scale. So this is looking interesting. And finally, I have a magic parameter here, which is called entropy. So if you increase this, you will see that the box, let's go away, the box that we had is start to looking different. And if you have the entropy that is not equal to 0, so something like this, and then you change the entropy angles, you will create you can create a loop with the angle. But the cool thing is that in the corners you can create really strange and without symmetry shapes. I mean, there's symmetry, but it's not boring like a flat symmetry. So like I did before, let's just go full screen and find a good camera position. Maybe this could be a good one, and switch to the other kernel and just wait. Okay, I think I will keep this one. I really like those structures here. There's a lot of detail and it's fast to render. So let's start to tweak and explore our light and material for this fractal. So what I usually do is just create a octane daylight like this, and let's move this and change the sun direction. So this is the sun direction to something. I want to keep some shadow, so like an angle like this is usually bad because you don't have many shadow and contrast. So let's keep that at the right. Okay, for now I can keep this. Then let's see how this fractal reacts to the fractal material. So let's create a octane material and open the node editor. Let's close this. So this can be smaller. And what we need now is a gradient in the diffuse. So gradient, octane, gradient. And in the texture we need a gradient txt, which is just an OSL texture with the code that you can find here in the gradient script. So it's just the same. Okay, let's change some the gradient colors. So I usually load a preset from here. If you don't have this menu, you can find it by clicking here, load preset, and let's use this one. Okay, close and apply that to our Vectron. So it looks like that it's not working because we have only one color, but the cool part now is that in your Vectron object we have a parameter with color or iteration, U mode and U scale, and we can change that, of course. So let's try just to switch the mode. You have 4 different modes here, so I usually recommend you to try all 4 modes, and looks like it's always just one color. So let's stick with U mode set to 0 and change the U scale, and we saw that something happened. We start to have 2 different colors on the fractal. You can also change the color on iteration. So I've been playing with fractals for years, and this color thing is still I mean, there's no right way to do it. It's just tweak the scale and the parameters until you find defined colors over the fractal. One other thing that we can do is go in our gradient script and change the angle. So there we are. Like that. So we have 2 different colors, and now we can also change our gradient to a rainbow one, and also switch the interpolation to step. All right. I'm not too happy with this color variation, so I'm just going to change the U mode, hoping that something different will emerge. Not too much. There we go. Okay, so here we have 3 different colors, and let's start to map our material on each color. So the blue will have a material, and the red will have another kind of material. So let's just start. So I'm going to use materials from the Octane Live DB. which is kind of slow sometimes. And let's just use a grass material, because why not? Then a dirt material. Let's always wait the download, or it will crash sometimes. And then I want to create a metallic material, but I'm going to do that by myself. So octane material. Let's switch to metallic and set the roughness to something around 0.1. Okay. And rename that to metallic. Alright, so let's say I want the blue part to be dirt. So we need to create a mix material, which will be and then we will use this gradient as mask for other materials. So mix material, let's call this dirt map, and store the render buffer here so we can keep a reference for our color mapping, and copy the gradient and the OSL texture, so you can set that to the amount. And in this case we want to keep the blue part, so this means that this blue part will be set to full white, also this one, and anything else in the middle will be just black. So we can delete that and set this to black and black. Perfect. Now we have our map, so we can copy our dirt material, and let's organize this a little better. So let's connect this dirt material to the first one, and metallic material to the material number 2, so like this. And let's apply this mixed material to the fractal, and as you can see we have material number 1, which is our dirt, only on this part of the fractal, so it was the blue part, and we have material number 2, which is a metallic, on anything else. And in this way you can basically map anything. You can go even you can create even more material stack using this gradient. So let's say that you want to map also the red part here, and to do that we need to repeat this process. So another mixed material, and let's copy again this, so we can map the red. Oops. And the red part is this one, so set this to black, this also to black, and anything else delete. Black, black, and this one should be white. Alright, and let's create a new material, just red one, so we can see where we are mapping our mix material. Let's drag this new octane mixed material on the Vectron fractal. Okay, so we are not in the right position now because with this gradient map we are in overlay with the old map here, so we need to invert that. I hope, yeah. And this thing here could be maybe instead of a red material, could be a grass material, so just drag that and select the material. And there you go, you have some grass, you have some dirt material, and you have some metallic material here. It's not the best scene ever, but can look cool for sure. So I find the dirt material a little boring because it's really flat. So what we can do is add some turbulence to this because it's really boring. So open the dirt material, and in the diffuse there's a dirt texture that maybe needs a projection, sorry, I don't know how to say that. Let's set that to box and play with the aspect ratio, but first, yeah, we are not going to see any difference. So let's change the material a little bit. This is way too complex. We don't need all this complexity. So there you go. You can see now that if you connect directly the dirt texture to the diffuse channel, you will see the box projection working. All right. Let's switch to the path tracing kernel, which looks more cool, of course. And as always, set the GI clamp to 1, just because you have to do that in Octane. I don't know why. And max samples to 128. Oh, sorry. And also the ray epsilon, let's decrease that, so until we are happy with the detail that we have. Sorry. So ray epsilon, I want that part to be really thin, like that. And then we can start to create an Octane camera. And what I want to do is a macro filling. So in the Octane camera tag and depth of field, we can change the aperture and then pick the focus point. Then of course the lenses that I'm using on this camera is not really the best one for this kind of composition, so let's change that and switch back to the normal kernel. And let's go for a less wide lens, like 300. so everything looks more tiny. Okay, let's try with this one. Set the focal point here, and in the Octane camera change the aperture. Yeah, something like that. Looks nice. And I'm just going for a big render, so path tracing. If you want, you can add some post-processing in the Octane camera tag. The bloom power. I still don't like this. I need more details, so I'm going to change a little bit the fractal parameter. Okay, let's just see what we have. So I'm going to render this at full screen, and let's wait a few minutes. At least I have to wait. So this is how it looks after 5 minutes. It's not bad, but of course it's not one of my best fractal image. But I hope you get the idea about how to create and map different materials. Of course, you can add some volume in the background and some clouds with. You can do that with also volumes, or just use Photoshop. And I want to show you a more advanced setup that I did yesterday with always complex shaders and color on iteration mapping. So this is the same fractal, just with different parameters. I usually spend like 1 hour just to find a good shape. So take your time, and only when you are really happy with the shape of the fractal, start adding more materials. And what I did here is the same gradient mapping. So let's see the material. So this is my what I call Uber material, because it has really everything. It looks complicated, but it's not. Most of the thing is just different maps, like diffuse, specular, roughness. So standard Octane stuff. And it's a combination of 3 different mixed material. So to achieve this kind of variety. And for example, we have the grass here. And if you go to the grass material, you will find out that there's just an image texture with the grass, and then there's a mixed texture with a marble node to get some different color variation. And then we combine this grass material with a marble material, which is the white one, and we want to map the grass only on the top. So you can just use a fall off map and set the fall off mode to 90 degree, and you will get the grass only on top. Then there's this red marble material, which is only in some part of the fractal, And this is because we have a gradient mapping based on the iteration number. So I think that if we reload this and you set that to solo node, yeah, you will see that the gradient here, the red part, is only in some part, and this is thanks to this gradient mapping. And I just did the same for everything until I get this nice composition. And as it's up to you, so you can map different materials. I like it the marble ones, marble one this time. Then I just added some volume. So this is a standard octane volume with some noise, so there's some clouds. But this is a kind of complicated setup, and I did that in the same way I did the tutorial one. It's just a different and more defined way of doing fractal art. So of course you can zoom in, change the camera angle, and render this again. So 5 minutes later, well, for you just a few seconds, we have our nice render, and we can see all the beauty of the marble mapped here, and another kind of marble here, and the grass only on top of the fractal. Then of course the depth of field helps a lot, and light up your scene also helps. Light is everything in Octane, so you can get nice detail here and here. It's a pretty cool scene, this one. And I just want to show you from how I started building this Uber material. So I'm going to create, as always, just an Octane material with the gradient mapping. So diffuse, gradient, and gradient again. And let's use a rainbow and apply this to Vectron object. And again, everything looks blue, but you have to change the gradient angle here in the script. Like this. So then it's really easy to map the blue. So you have one material on the blue part, one other material on the yellow part, but that's all basic Octane material mapping. So what I did is just use this gradient here as mask for all the mixed materials. So for instance, I have the blue here, and if you want to convert this blue gradient this gradient to a mask, you need to set the blue to white and anything else just to black. So like in this amount here, you can map each color using this way of black and white, and the results are really cool. And of course, every material that has a texture, you have to set the projection to a box, so you will see all the details of the texture on the fractal, because it's not a normal object. As you can see, there's nothing here. It's not a geometry object. And that's pretty much it. I hope you understood my process and you can repeat that. So this is not really a tutorial. I'm not too used at doing tutorials, but it's more like a story to tell you how I create these fractals, and I hope you will learn something. Maybe you will have a different approach, and that's cool. So you will create your own style of fractal art, and all your knowledge of Octane and Cinema 4D, so you can mix it with standard geometry, like you can add trees in there, you can add a waterfall, or really whatever you want, some dragons flying, and it's really up to you. And there's many other tutorials on YouTube to learn Cinema 4D and Octane, so just start exploring.